Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Your Property Business, the podcast that's talked to property professionals to help landlords invest and manage their properties. So today on this episode, I'm delighted to invite Joy Savill for a conversation. So Joy's got over 30 years experience in the property industry, starting from wills and probate and becoming head of property at a law firm. And since then graduated, if you like, to partner of a law firm in Norfolk with responsibility of risk and business continuity. And since then, a property investor managing portfolios of property and property developments, and a property mentor helping new property investors understand their way forward and encourage them to make the first steps in the right way to build their own portfolio. So a wealth of experience coming from Joy from various angles of property. I'm just going to turn the camera on and welcome Joy to the stage. Hi, Joy.
Hi.
How you doing? You are welcome. Well, thanks for coming. So we've been chatting backstage a bit, and I just thought I'd just start by asking you just to give us a bit of a flavour about the sort of stuff that you've done over the last 30 years. So how you all started, and kind of I'll quiz you a little bit more about why you do the things you do now, but for the moment, just to start on like what you've done and where you've come from, all that kind of stuff.
So it's a little bit more than 30 years, but I've stopped counting at 30. So I started in property as a secretary in a law firm after my first career as a nurse ended because of an injury. And I fell in love with property law. Okay. And that then gradually increased until I went to the university and did a law degree. When I finished, I did that while my son was growing up. When I finished, I went back into law practice and got my practice qualifications whilst on the job. But what I did was, then when I became a fee earner, although I'd seen it when I was a secretary, when I became a fee earner and I started acting for people, I suddenly realised that there were people coming back lots and they were buying lots of properties. In those days, there was a lender whom I can't remember that used to send a book of mortgage deeds, and I could just rip one out and request the money. So I had a book. They'd agreed 10 mortgages at once. Okay. This would be early in this century, late last century. And we used to just, and I realised these people, we were getting rich, and they were building their wealth and their legacy. And I sort of got it to start off with, but I also was scared of taking that first step, and I think we all are scared of taking that first step. So didn't for a long time, put it off. I told you earlier about the famous deal that got away. There's a Tesco's Metro was built in a town near me with 3, if not 4 stories of flats above it, and it was on the market 20 years ago, say, for around 500,000. Okay. I added it up, did the title splits, knew how it'd work, but I've lost millions because I would have had that. Now I would have ripped their arm off for it, but I sat in the auction, watched it sell, and watched it not sell, and still didn't do anything about it. So, and now somebody's got that Tesco's. They've had 20 odd years of rent from Tesco's, and they may be letting all the flats out. I don't know what they're doing with them. And they may have sold them all off.
Appreciation, all that good stuff.
So and Tesco's are a good strong covenant. You know, you could whack that in a pension. If you got a SAS, you're leaving a great legacy for your family. So that was why I got into it, and then I got into it because I thought that would give us a pension in our old age.
What was a catalyst that took you from sitting inside of an auction, seeing it go, not doing anything about it, but because you knew the business, you knew the property, and you knew it was a good idea. What changed to make you do something with that information?
Property education. a law practice in the city of Norwich, and we were expected to go networking, and I went to a newly opened network, which is where I met you, actually.
That was a PPN.
PPN, yeah, and I was so that's 10 years ago this year.
Yeah.
So I was, or actually last year, I think, I was asked to go and look at and represent the firm, which I did, and I won a load of books and a place on the progressive MSOPI.
Yeah.
So I was given the day off to do the Friday, so I did that, and realised that I had more knowledge than most of the people who were standing on the stage.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes that makes me extra cautious, but it also makes me see other ways around things. So that was what was the step for me. I've always loved teaching, so I always loved it when I got the trainee solicitor doing their property seat. It was always a great kick for me when they came and did their property seat, to spend 6 months teaching somebody how to do it, rather than by books, but how it works in real life.
Okay.
So that was really good, and so I then sort of, having done that for a while, just doing the property, I then started to help others do it.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
I love doing it. I like passing on knowledge. So
what's your kind of your sort of business structure, or kind of your activities involved at the moment? Because you've got a few areas that you can call upon, but what keeps you busy at the moment?
So what keeps me busy? I work for. I still do property law, but generally only for property investors. I don't do the emotional property one, and work for people who are moving. I find that particularly difficult because I take it to heart too much, and I like to speak the same language, and property investors and I tend to speak the same language, which makes it refreshing for them, because their solicitors usually go, "Oh, you don't want to do that, you don't want to do that." And I take the view, well, you shouldn't do that, don't you? Because this might happen. But let's see how we can work around doing it. So I do that. I do a little bit of, I do a bit of legacy planning. So I help property investors and small business people plan their legacy.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that they've got all their wills and lasting powers of attorney in place. And we're currently working on a membership scheme where you can become a member of my group, which will help you make sure that you keep everything up to date, because there are lots of people, particularly in property, who do it on their own, and the family don't get involved. They don't know anything about it. And recently somebody I know asked me how they found out the houses that their aunt owned, because she died suddenly. And they were having a real difficult time with that. So and I've also got clients who have nobody in this country, and have family in other countries who won't be able to help. So we're setting up a consultancy that will help people in that situation. And finally, I help people not make the mistakes I made, to learn by my mistakes. So I do a consultancy service where either they work with me for 6 months to get their foot on the ladder and get them moving up, or I do a one-off deal consultancy often. One of my particular passions at the moment is everybody's title splitting and telling everybody what to do. But they're not taking account of the huge delays at HM Land Registry. And therefore they're getting themselves stuck in quagmires because they put their title splits in before, and that's not necessary.